Race round, they're into the World Cup semis, but find out why the issue of quotas could divide South African rugby. Back to basics, how Australia's swimmers are preparing for next summer's Olympics. Fighting fit, how golf professionals keep in trim when they don't have time to find a gym. Until death and beyond, why the fans of one of football's most famous teams can literally wear their colours to the grave. Welcome to Sportsworld, Al Jazeera's regular look at sport around the globe. I'm Rahul Pathak. Well, we'll start with the Rugby World Cup and semi-finalist South Africa. Now, the Springboks won the Cup 12 years ago and it was an historic victory in their homeland and united a nation still coming to terms with the end of apartheid. But now a new race storm is rumbling. As Carrie Brown reports from Paris, the politics behind the game are threatening to lessen the impact of this famed rugby side.
Can the Springboks bring another World Cup upset on the All Blacks in Paris? JP Peterson, who's come to prominence in this World Cup, scoring 3 tries in the group stage, believes his side boasts too many players deserving of a place in a World 15 to let the Webb Ellis Trophy slide through their hands.
Yeah, definitely. Like Skalkberger, he was a South African Sportsman of the Year. It's one of the greatest flankers in the world. Every game is almost like man of the match for us. The run is still there, dominating in scrums, throwing his body around like a youngster. And definitely our captain, John Smith, for leading us so well and giving us inspirational speeches and leading from front. And what can I say, there's one legend at the back, Percy Montgomery. He's been here for a while, he's holding so many records of South African rugby. And there's Brian Abana, what his speech, the finishing off tries, scores against them all 4 tries. And I think if I could choose the World 15, I will choose the South African 15.
There's no doubting this squad boasts a wealth of talent, yet each player's future is uncertain. In 2008, the South African Rugby Union is expected to introduce strict ethnic quotas and is even looking to ban any player who joins club rugby overseas, which leads many to believe that 2007 could be the last realistic chance for South Africa to lift the Rugby World Cup for many years to come. South Africa last lifted the World Cup in 1995, a moment which came to define the dawn of the post-apartheid era. Yet 12 years on, there are only 6 black players in the Springbok squad. Current coach Jake White has been supported for staunchly selecting players on form, but race targets could be introduced into South African rugby as soon as next year, which will coincide with the end of White's contract. Reports suggest Super 14 teams will be expected to field a minimum of 4 black players on the pitch at one time. But it's not a popular strategy. The Springboks' biggest star, Brian Habana, who himself is considered a black role model for the sport, is reluctant to support ethnic quotas.
I think it would be very, very sad if it had to be put in South Africa. I think every person of an ethnic group wants to have the equal chance to represent their country. So I think it would be a little unfair on not only a black person, but on a person who probably has the talent and is sort of shunned away because there's a person of ethnic colour better than him. So I think for me personally, I think I've got a lot to offer South Africa. I definitely like the politics to be sorted out by the administration, so that we can go out into the field as a happy bunch of 15 players and perform what is an extremely privileged sport to play on 80 minutes on a Saturday.
Brian's father, who is also his agent, holds even stronger views.
Something that would make us leave South African rugby is to actually do that, is to actually impose that sort of number that we can't live as genuine South Africans. That's something that would really make Brian come play in England or come play in France or go play somewhere else. I know that I feel it all the time, that Brian is in the team because the numbers are there. I know it's not true. I know it's not true, but you always get that feeling, he's there because of the numbers, because people's minds work that way.
Team manager Zolo Yeye, who expects to continue to work with the squad after Jake White's departure, refuses to use the word quota. Instead, he believes the Springboks need to transform.
Quotas at the moment, there are no quotas in rugby at the moment, no quotas in cricket, but true transformation, transforming. Transforming means introducing other nationalities and other people, because all of these things are supposed to gel and have one team, which is the national team.
Yeye may talk of gradual transformation, but the South African Rugby Union has already revealed its determination to enforce change in its attempt to get Luke Watson included in the World Cup squad. The open side flanker is the son of apartheid activist Daniel Cheeky Watson, who some say gave up a possible selection for the Springboks by playing club rugby in the Black Townships of Eastern Province. Luke has followed in his father's campaigning footsteps and has even been dubbed an honorary Black. I read somewhere there was quite a lot of pressure on White to pick him. Was that true or?
Pressure? Jake might describe it as coercion. He was actually foisted upon Jake. Jake hadn't picked him for a Springbok training squad, and then when the training squad convened, so did Luke Watson. He arrived quite startlingly at the Springbok training squad, and what had happened is that the Springbok or the South African Rugby Board had amongst themselves decided to force Jake's hand and had added Luke to the training squad without telling Jake. So that was controversial, you could say.
But he isn't in the World Cup squad.
Jake, no, he's not. Jake played Luke in one match and then showed him the door.
So he still has the power to do that, but that might give an indication of the future of South Africa.
I would say that it shows where it's headed, yeah.
Racial quotas could bring change in 2008, but a more pressing concern is that a number of the team's star players could have their Springbok careers brought to a premature end after this World Cup. Captain John Smith, Victor Matfield and Percy Montgomery, just some of the Springboks who the South African Rugby Union plan to ban because they all intend to play club rugby overseas. Team manager Yeye was reluctant to talk about the issue at this delicate time.
At the moment, I don't have a personal opinion because I'm with the team. I don't want to be seen to be, biased, have prejudices over other issues.
But when we started talking about young players leaving South Africa to sign in Europe, Yeye made his feelings clear.
When they move away, there are contractual obligations, and they are bound by those contractual obligations. So are they when they play for our national team. These young ones, when they move away, and then again, as it's said, there's an old cliche, you cannot have your bread buttered on both sides. You have to take one decision. Do you want to be here or do you want to be there?
Words that will no doubt concern some of the country's top players. Yet despite all the imminent changes, Habana is optimistic about the Springboks' future.
The better we do at this World Cup, the better it will be for South African rugby in the future. At the moment, we're only looking until the 20th of October. Anything further than that will only happen after the 20th of October. I think, with Jake and John steering the ship, the 20th of October is our main goal. And after that, we'll sit down. Jake and the coaching staff will probably with the administrators at SA Rugby sit down and have a look at the future of South African rugby. And like I said, I'm looking very, very forward. I think there's a bright future with a lot of youngsters to come through, and hopefully I'll be able to lend a hand in the upbringing of what is going to be a good South African rugby future.
Those level-headed words from the squad's star player should bode well for the Springboks' future. Carrie Brown, Al Jazeera, Paris.
Now, with their exit from the Rugby World Cup, Australia's sports fans will now be looking ahead to next year's Olympics. Now, the nation is renowned for their success in the swimming pool, but recently things haven't been going Australia's way, so they've been going back to basics in preparation for Beijing. And Sportsworld's Wayne Hay popped along to their training camp.
The 12-month countdown to Beijing 2008 has started, but there was certainly no fanfare from the Australian swimming team. To them, it was a signal that the hard work has just begun. Their recent training camp in Malaysia was a dress rehearsal for next year. This Kuala Lumpur pool is where they'll launch their bid for Games glory, using it as a base just prior to the Olympics.
It's a acclimatisation thing more than anything. It's about getting into the right time zone, the same time zone as Beijing. It's about getting into the summer weather, the humid weather, and just living in the Asian lifestyle, I suppose, is something that is unusual to us, and it just helps us get ready for what we're going to face.
It's not totally unfamiliar to the star and captain of the team. Triple Olympic gold medalist Grant Hackett won Commonwealth Games gold in the same pool in 1998.
This is a great practice for us next year leading into Beijing, of course, being based here, KL going into that meet. So yeah, it's just great to get our feet and our bearings.
Hackett's on a mission to end his Olympic career on a high with a third straight gold medal in the 1500 metres freestyle. He could only manage 7th in the final at March's World Champs after a disrupted build-up, but he seems to be back on course.
He didn't swim as well as we wanted and as well as he wanted. So, you know, it's good to see him back to his best and back to his normal personality and moods and a great part of the team and a great captain.
Obviously with those swims in Melbourne, a lot of changes needed to be made and no interruptions to swimming. So I made all those changes and really focused on what I need to do over the next 12 months leading to Beijing, and certainly turned around a lot of my performances pretty quickly, which is what I needed to do, and got my confidence back up.
Based on results at the World Champs, where the men failed to win an individual gold, the Aussies are ranked 3rd in the world. They've fallen off the pace being set by the United States, but they believe they're moving in the right direction to resume their fierce rivalry with the powerful Americans.
You know, we're improving steadily, moving forward. The camps are going great, we've got great staff, the swimmers are handling themselves well the whole time. So, you know, from all parameters, everything looks pretty good. So if we keep on progressing forward like we are and, you know, just stay focused and keep our eye on the ball, I'm sure we can perform, you know, hopefully one of the best Olympic teams ever next year.
If preparation and planning are anything to go by, Australia appear to have made a good start. Wayne Hay, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
As ever, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website. That's aljazeera.net/English. Now stay with Sportsworld, because coming up, why the fans of one of football's most famous teams can literally wear their colours to the globe.